So hello and welcome to the interior of the all-new Rolls-Royce Ghost. And before I get started, I feel that I should make an admission, because despite my impeccable taste in shirts and spectacles, I'm probably not the target audience for this car, purely because I can't afford one, and it's highly likely that I never will be able to afford one. But before you click away, I do appreciate when a manufacturer goes to almost OCD levels of attention when it comes to engineering a vehicle. And I also love it when a manufacturer attempts to create something that is the pinnacle of luxury. And a Rolls-Royce always has been and always will be the pinnacle of luxury. So the brief for this Ghost was slightly different to other vehicles in the Rolls-Royce lineup, because Rolls-Royce went to their customers and listened to feedback and asked what they liked about the old Ghost and what they didn't like. And apparently the feedback they received was that customers want a bit less. And that doesn't mean a drop in quality or a drop in technology or a poorer driving experience. It means that they just want a car that's a little bit less flashy, a bit less showy. And Rolls-Royce dubs this Post Opulence, which is essentially an age where we live at the moment, where the quality is still extremely high and it still represents the absolute pinnacle of luxury, but it's a car that doesn't shout about it. There's not tons of bling. It's much simpler and cleaner. This new Rolls-Royce Ghost has incredibly big boots to fill, because it replaces the previous Ghost, which was on sale for over 10 years. And that was a model that happened to be the best-selling Rolls-Royce in its 116-year history, which is incredible when you think about it. But on top of that, the Ghost has always been a car that its owners like to drive. They don't just like to sit in the back of. So it has to be quiet, refined, luxurious, comfortable. But it also has to be really good to drive as well. New Ghost is a little bit wider and a little bit longer than its predecessor, which obviously frees up a bit more legroom in the back for rear occupants and a bit more interior space, but it's really been designed to house all-wheel steering for the first time, and this new planar suspension system, which is a brand new technology in the automotive world, not just for Rolls-Royce, which I'll try and get my head around a bit later on in the video. So back to that all-wheel steering, which is all new for the Ghost. This is designed so the rear wheels steer in conjunction or opposed to the front wheels, which helps give the Ghost, which is a massively long and large vehicle, a little bit more maneuverability, especially at slow speed. But it's also designed that as things speed up, it helps get around tighter, faster corners, and it just makes the car feel a lot more agile, even though it is such a large thing. So what better way to get to know the new Rolls-Royce Ghost than to talk about the exterior design? I've got here Felix Gilbertus, Head of Exterior Design at Rolls-Royce, to talk me through everything that has gone into this car.
So lots of things to talk about in this car, but I think fundamentally the car is all about proportion and about presence. And I think on the front, that of course starts with our iconic temple grille, here interpreted in a very crisp, very precise manner. Also illuminated for the first time for the brand. And it's quite remarkable that it's still, beautiful stainless steel, authentic materials, with a slight satin finish on the backside, so that the illumination has this warmth to it that we wanted to achieve. And the modernity of the front end is also expressed by the lamps. We have this very three-dimensional daytime running light. It has this, actually, maybe the most important line on the Rolls-Royce is actually this line here, the lower part of the temple line, that extends horizontally into that expression, into almost like an eyelid, that really has this assertive front aspect to it.
So one of the most iconic things on a Rolls-Royce is the Spirit of Ecstasy, and here you've done something very different with it. Could you talk me through that?
So one of the things that, for us, the Spirit of Ecstasy is the starting point for design, really. So not only is she the crowning piece of the temple. She really sits on top of it. It's also the starting point for the whole exterior design, really. Here in this particular case, we're very happy to have her integrated almost like an island into a lake of painted sheet metal that allowed us also to eliminate shut lines like the one that we used to have on some of our previous models. So in that spirit of, you know, absolute purity and a new type of simplicity, we're really happy with the precision and the amount of engineering that went into achieving this type of integration.
Okay, so moving round to the side of the vehicle, I guess for a lot of people, their first experience is going to be with the doors, and these are very special as well. Could you perhaps show me what you've achieved here?
So I think there are a number of things that we wanted to achieve in this car. So first of all, we wanted to have a sensation of serenity and of calm, but also of balance, really. And that we achieve by perfectly shaping and balancing the doors. So this is a car that should be an invitation to drive, but also to be driven. So there's a lot of work that goes into exactly how that shut line and how the length of these doors correlate to each other. And of course, we kept one of our hallmark features, which is our beautiful coach doors to really invite you into the interior.
Am I right in saying for the first time these are motorized to make them easier to open and close?
So you can open them effortlessly, but now you can also close them effortlessly. Plus you can operate them effortlessly from the inside as well. We called them effortless doors, and I think that really describes the intention behind those. So it's something you should never think about them. The doors should just close and you shouldn't worry about them.
Okay, Felix, so one particular thing that I absolutely love is this roof. It's like a sculpture almost. Obviously creating something like this must have taken a lot of hours and a lot of hard work, but you know, what is particularly special about the way that this has come about and the way that you actually manufacture something like that?
What we want to express through design, through the surfaces and through the lines, is actually the quality and the care that goes into the car. So we're very proud to still have a manufacturing system where the entire body is still joined by hand. So these are hand welded and hand finished bodies. They're actually joined pieces. So one of the things that makes this special is that actually the roof itself is one piece, as well as this part is a certain piece. And that allows you to have extra sculpture in this roof. So for example, you have this very delicate line. You'll see it run around also over the rear window, and a very graceful drop. And all of this you can achieve, that type of seamlessness, that type of monolithic appearance, because of that very special manufacturing process. We can also, as a side benefit, we can also eliminate any gap lines and shut lines that you would have in a traditional system where you would have to join these pieces together or have maybe trim pieces that would hide these welding lines. Since they're hand finished and hand painted, it's one smooth sculpture.
So Felix, we're now inside New Ghost. I guess the first thing we need to talk about is this beautiful illuminated fascia in front of me here.
Absolutely. I think the key part to the interior is really that dashboard with a single horizontal gesture. And one of the things we wanted to do is really balance the expression for both the driver and a passenger. And here we took one detail which we learned to love, which is our stylet headliner, and interpreted also in the dashboard. So, and I think it once again, it showcases the level of attention and the craftsmanship that really goes into this feature.
So perhaps another hallmark of Rolls-Royce has traditionally been quite heavily polished veneers, and I've noticed that you've kind of approached it a bit differently here.
I think the materials, of course, always express the character of the car. And I think in Ghost in particular, we wanted to have a very modern interpretation of these veneers. And I think choosing to have open pore finishes really allows you to have a new connection with these materials to the touch, but also to the eye. The very few elements that we then add really need to have personality and also need to be perfectly executed like this. Especially when something is as long as the dashboard, it runs really from pillar to pillar. So every single little wobble would be visible to the eye. Quite hard to achieve that. The
rear of a Rolls-Royce, always a very special place to be. In this one we have your Starlight headliner, which I'm told also features shooting stars if you sit and stare at it for long enough. And the champagne fridge, which has a nice little feature in Ghost, I'm told.
What's important for us is that all of these things are thought through properly. So not only is it a useful feature to have, of course there's enough space for both the glasses and a bottle, but you also have two temperature settings. One a little bit colder than the other one, depending on what type of champagne you would actually want to enjoy in the backseat of this lovely car.
This particular model is obviously specified in white, which makes it feel very calm and serene, but I know for a fact that's something you guys have worked really hard to encourage, and that's something that customers demand as well.
I think you picked up on it. I think it's really the serenity of the interior that is really key to us. And we like to structure the interior in a way that you can also personalize this atmosphere. So in this case, you have a very strong, beautiful contrast between very light and very dark features because of these zones that really allow that to do. And depending on what finish or what atmosphere you would want, the car really becomes the canvas for your personality.
So let's talk about the suspension system in the new Rolls-Royce Ghost, because it is remarkable. Now, Rolls-Royces have always been known for their magic carpet ride. They are phenomenal things to ride in, so comfortable, so smooth. But they've taken things to the next level with Ghost by incorporating something called a patented mass damper, which is another element to the suspension system that other manufacturers simply wouldn't bother with, because most people are so busy trying to reduce weight, they don't want to be adding things to their system. But in a Rolls-Royce, that doesn't really matter. It's quite a big, heavy car anyway. But what they have done is they've cleverly teamed it up with the flag bearer system, which includes lots of technology and camera systems located somewhere around here, which read the road ahead, and they're constantly scanning for imperfections and undulations. And they are teaming up with the satellite-aided gearbox, and they are essentially telling the suspension system what to do 1,000 times a second. So the result, which is all you really need to know about, is that from this seat here, you essentially don't feel any bumps or lumps in the road. The car just rides superbly. It also adapts to your driving style. So if you start going around corners quickly, or you start hitting the accelerator pedal, it will adapt and it will firm up, and it makes the car suddenly feel quite taut and agile. And if you corner at speed, the thing remains incredibly flat, and it takes tight turns with very minimal body roll, which is not something that all Rolls-Royces have been able to do in the past. We don't really need to spend too much time talking about the engine, because it's the same 6.75 litre twin-turbo V12 that has been used for quite some time, but it's still such a peach. It's really quiet when you are driving with an easy, light right foot, but as soon as you bury that foot, it wakes up and it picks up. And Rolls-Royce isn't really in the game of talking about horsepower figures, but it's got just shy of 570. There is so much torque on tap here that when you want this car to shift, it shifts. But then again, when you ease off that throttle and you go back to more sedate driving, the car just settles down and the engine becomes really quiet and relaxed, and you can hear a pin drop in here. On the subject of quietness, to achieve this level of quietness within the cabin, there are not one, not two, not three, but 4 layers of sound deadening in these thick, heavy doors here. And they're made up of various different materials, and that was because the engineers found that one material was good for ironing out a certain frequency, and then another material was great for another. So you have these layers of sound deadening materials that are used to create this perfect ambience. And actually, if you just stop talking and just sit here as the car is rolling along, it's so peaceful. So I'll zip it for a second and you can just listen. Isn't that just wonderful? So quiet. We will have to mention Bentley, of course, because they have the Mulsanne, which is a similar price and has just been updated. But they feel different, and you would need to get them back to back to experience what they're like. The new Ghost really does feel like a much more performance-orientated luxury machine, if that's a possible thing to do. And I just don't think the Mulsanne quite has those sort of chops. The thing I like about Rolls-Royces is that they're like great pieces of art. And that might sound cheesy, but really good pieces of art make you sit and look at them for a while and dissect things and just find out all the little details. And particularly in this new Ghost, there are hundreds of little details that make up the whole picture. And you do have to experience this car for a few hours or a few days to really start appreciating everything that has gone into it. It makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel at home. And that's what's great. I think owners are going to want to sit in the back and have that experience with the champagne fridge and the screens and the silence and the comfort. But also, when it comes time to drive, it doesn't feel big. It doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel daunting. It actually feels much lighter and more nimble than its large road presence would suggest. And I think that is what makes it quite special.